Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers, FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well today. It's another busy day for everybody. Got lots going on here, lots of shows. I actually misinformed you all yesterday, so I'll work to rectify that in terms of the show plans this week. I don't even know what the hell's going on. So if I don't know what the hell's going on, you probably don't know what's going on, so let me see if I can do a better job of describing that. I am Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. This show is Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. We're here Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We go about an hour normally. This week going a little bit shorter. Why are you going a little bit shorter? Because our Elite Sports Game Time show, Justin Fensterman and myself, that show that is usually on 8 to 10 Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday through Friday. That show this week has been moved 4 of the 5 days. So yesterday, today, Thursday, Friday, that show was immediately following this at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 1 to 3, and it leads directly into Jeff Mann's Elite Sports show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio from at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, this show at 12 Eastern, Justin and I on Game Time, 1 to 3 Eastern. Jeff Mann's on Elite Sports at 3 Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. On Wednesdays, tomorrow, I erroneously said I was going to be doing 6 straight hours. That is not true. I will be doing the morning show here. I will be doing the show with Jeff as well. So I'll be doing 4 straight hours, and then Game Time only this week on Wednesday is in the evening. So again, the Game Time show, this is really complicated, but bottom line is this week is all jumbled. Next week, we'll get back on track here with me hosting the show Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Justin Fensterman on Wednesdays. And we'll also get back to Elite Sports being on 8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. The bottom line is you're getting 3 shows this week. You're getting 3 shows next week. You're getting 3 Fantasy Guru shows, 2 of them on SiriusXM, and then this one every day here on the live stream. The live stream can be seen if you type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network. You can go to FantasyGuru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page and find this show as well as all the other shows on the network. You can go and follow us live, and you can watch and ask questions and comments at 3 spots. You can always watch the show there on demand at any point too. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, and on Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. In any of those locations, you can leave comments, questions, and we can address them throughout the show. Here's the plan for today. It is a Tuesday, so Armando and Marsal will join us about a half hour, 25 minutes from now. We'll talk a little bit, some major storylines heading into the 2025 football season. We're going to talk the quarterback position. Draft is coming up. We'll finish our rundown on Thursday with Tyler Beaker doing our recap of all the divisions and what their team needs are heading into the draft. We'll have, again, Armando on in about 25 minutes. And then on Friday, I won't be here because I'm here tomorrow with you. On Friday will be Justin Fensterman and Russell Clay, and they'll continue that football discussion. It's tax day, by the way. Happy tax day. I don't think that's a thing, but it is tax day. Make sure if you haven't turned your taxes in, you file them today or get that extension. Nothing worse than paying a penalty because you didn't get your paperwork filed. And a lot of times it's not you. I know, whether you have investments or whatever, sometimes they get you the information late. But today's the day, you know it. It's the one day a year we all say, here you go, Gov, take some cash from us. So happy tax day in 2025. We're going to talk some baseball. We got some catchers to talk about, as you can see there on the screen, some infielders, some outfielders, a pitcher to highlight. We've got some injuries. We got some positives here. Kind of going to go through this, and I'm going to say this again because I continue to see this in the Discord over at FantasyGuru.com on a daily basis. Please have patience, okay? Day after day, I'm getting questions about dropping a better player who has started slowly for a worse player who has started hot. It's been less than 20 games. As I say every year, as I've written the article already at FantasyGuru.com, as you and I talked about here on this show, it simply is not enough data. We don't have enough data to be making any changes other than changes that are dictated because other teams' bad moves, right? Yainer Diaz has really struggled to start the year. We're not dropping Yainer Diaz. Number one, I wouldn't have drafted a catcher that early anyway, as we talked about all preseason. But you're not dropping him right now. Like, it doesn't, Wilmer Flores, we talked about yesterday. Cam Smith, we talked about yesterday. Got to keep who players are in proper perspective. So keep that in mind. Let's start at the catcher spot. There's a couple guys. First off, Hunter Goodman. And Hunter Goodman is somebody that, was coming into the season, 2 months before the season began, was a total afterthought. but then went out and had a dynamic spring. And as a result of the dynamic spring, and you look around the Rockies, and it's like, why are they not giving this guy a chance to play? So he continued to move up the rankings at fantasyguru.com, never getting to the point where it was a must get. But the hot spring has created a scenario where he's playing basically every day for the Rockies. And we've seen this with the Rockies, right? Amador, Veen, we'll talk about Kris Bryant here in a few minutes, how he's got another issue with his back. The Rockies are finally, I think, going into youth mode, which they should have done a couple of years ago. Finally admitting that signing veterans like Kris Bryant doesn't do them any good. So Goodman theoretically is one of that group. Now, Goodman's 25, will be 26 in a couple of months, so he's not young, but he's a young player in terms of his major league experience. He had a home run last night. So who is Hunter Goodman? We've seen it, okay? And this is a perfect encapsulation of being honest with who players are. And the fact is, if you do that, you're just going to be more successful in fantasy. Hunter Goodman had a blazing hot, amazing spring. Has it transitioned over to the regular season? Not at all. Just hasn't. He has 3 home runs in 52 plate appearances. Is that a pace he can sustain? Yes. He's got 17 home runs and 350 career plate appearances. He's also seen his batting average dip to 213. His on-base percentage is 290. If Hunter Goodman gets 500 at-bats, he's got a chance to be like Cal Raleigh. He's got a chance to be that guy if he gets 500 at-bats. And that is a guy hitting 225 with 26 home runs. Will the Rockies give him that much runway? I don't know. Will his struggles lead to different decisions by the front office? Possibly. So, this is another one of those scenarios where I think Hunter Goodman, Francisco Alvarez, like there's a style of catcher, Shea Langoliers. I mentioned Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh is probably a bad example because Cal Raleigh's at the top of that. But that guy that doesn't really get on base at a great level, doesn't really give you much batting average, but can hit you 20 home runs. Hunter Goodman's in that mix, okay? He absolutely is. But a lot of people seemingly took what happened in spring and just assumed that was going to be how it is, and it's not. So here in the early going, again, this is about, I think, what we should expect for Hunter Goodman. We'll point out that, expected batting average is 230, his expected slugging is 450. Maybe he's a little bit better than the ratios right now in the slash line, but not much. So be cautious with expecting too much with him. On the flip side, a guy that started the season hot after an injury was Sean Murphy. Now, Sean Murphy coming into the season was right on the edge of the catcher ones. Then the injury happened, and we were afraid he was going to miss all of April, so we dropped him down into the catcher 2 rankings. Every league I'm in, obviously, again, I say this all the time, I'm in 2 catcher leagues. Sean Murphy's not available. A lot of you, though, are in 1 catcher leagues. Some of you in shallow one catcher leagues, and so Sean Murphy's on the waiver wire. Would I drop Hunter Goodman to add Sean Murphy? Yes. Okay. Would I drop Yainer Diaz to add him, as I was asked this morning? No. Sean Murphy's blazing hot. He's got 4 home runs in 6 games. He looks fantastic in the early going. Murphy is a very well-known player. He is somebody that has been around for years. He started in 2019. The Braves gave him a substantial contract, though they always gave Travis d'Arnaud more playing time than any of us really anticipated. Sean Murphy is going to be a very productive player this year. I would look at 2021-22, and you kind of see what to expect. If he is that guy this year, Sean Murphy can be a catcher 1. Absolutely. Is he going to hit 275? Highly unlikely. Missing some time here at the start, even with this hot start with the home runs. Is he going to hit 20 home runs? Probably not. Maybe he gets there, but probably not. Sean Murphy is, what's he, 30? Yeah, he's 30. He'll be 31 in a couple months. He's a finished product. And he's a very good product because, again, especially for those of you in on-base percentage league, he knows how to take a walk. Let's throw out what happened last year. It was a mess. He knows how to take a walk. He knows how to get on base. I really like his offensive game. But we have to be smart about what we're doing. We're not dropping Salvador Perez. We're not dropping Yainer Diaz to add Sean Murphy. So, he's, again, if you drafted him as your second catcher, fantastic. If your first catcher was Francisco Alvarez, you made a move, or it's Tyler Stevenson, you made a move because of the injuries, fantastic too. But be cautious expecting, Sean Murphy to hit 29 home runs this year and bat 275. It's just not likely to happen. All right, who are we talking about next here on the list? Willy Adames. Willy Adames, Justin Fensman and I talked about Willy Adames, I think it was yesterday on the Elite Sports Game Time show. Remember, that's Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 Eastern. This week it's 1 to 3 Eastern, so right after this show. The fact is that Adames, I think, was overdrafted. And I said this in the preseason. I had him ranked lower than the room did, if you will. when it comes to the outlook this season. He was basically coming off the board 9th or 10th shortstop. I think that's still a level that he could reach this year, but we have to be very honest with Willy Adames. Everyone loves him in San Francisco. Seems like he loves being in San Francisco. The vibe is great. The team is winning, all this kind of stuff. Moving from Milwaukee to San Francisco was not a good move for a hitter. It's just not. The odds of him repeating the numbers that he produced last season, 10% when the season started, 10%, like really small. There's also the fact that, he stole 21 bases last year, which basically, not quite, I think he had 30 steals, but basically matched his career numbers coming into last season. So if we're looking at him as stealing at 10 to 12 bases this year, we're looking at him hitting 25 home runs this year, that 112 RBIs falls to 85, 80. We got a guy hitting 240, 25, 80 with 10 steals. And that starts looking a lot more like Dansby Swanson than a guy that you've got to be starting on a daily basis. So I think that the slow start, he has had a slow start. He should improve. He had a home run yesterday. He should improve from this slow start. But again, I believe that people expected too much from Willy Adames. Last year had the look of a career season coming in, then the move to a ballpark that doesn't help offense. If you have Adames, there's nothing you can do. But I hope that you didn't overdraft him and jump him substantially on ADP to get him. Kristian Campbell, wrote about him yesterday over at fantasyguru.com. Again, I'm scrambling this week because of the showtime being early. I don't have enough time to do my raised plays research as normal. I just don't. The clock is too tight with the way the schedule works. I went through this yesterday in detail. I also don't have time to write substantial ramblings articles. I just don't have the time. So next week when the show moves back into the evening, things will get more on track. But yesterday I wrote about hitters. I touched on Campbell. Today I'll write about some pitchers in the ramblings piece. And I'll also break down the pitching slate basically for the DFS side like I did yesterday. Kristian Campbell went 2 for 3 yesterday, had a solo home run. And, this is getting really interesting. And we talked about him in the preseason when we got the information late that he was actually going to end up being the starter at second base. And I think a lot of people are talking about him. He's 22 years old. I think the consensus of Kristian Campbell with the Red Sox is, by the way, he's played 4 games in the outfield in addition to second base. So he's starting to get the Sedano Rafaela treatment. I think the position everyone is taking is that Campbell needs development, but he's got a lot of skills, and we're seeing it right now. Even though he needs development, he's really doing some nice things at the big league level. He's hitting 300. He's got a 400 on base percentage. He's got a 500 slugging percentage. Like, this is a fantastic start. Is he going to hold on to a 14% walk rate? Kind of doubt it. Okay, that's a big boy number. And again, he takes walks. He's always got double-digit walk rates in the minor leagues. That's a really big boy number. I would expect that number to regress as the innings and at-bats pile up. He's got a 400 batting average on balls in play. He has always had terrific batting average on balls in play numbers, but it's not going to be 400 this year. Okay, so that number is going to pull back. I think at the end of the day, when we talk about Campbell, we're going to get a usable piece that is highly intriguing if we continue along these roads, because again, he was brought up to play second base, and that was the assumption. But if he's also eligible in the outfield, so if you drafted Kristian Campbell, picked him up off the waiver wire, whatever it was, hold on to Campbell. This is a strong start. I really like what we're seeing, admitting he's not a finished product. So, this is really, really heartening. That's why the Red Sox gave him the second base position to start the season. Speaking of second base, Gleyber Torres had 3 RBIs yesterday, scored twice yesterday. And I think a lot of people are remembering, after forgetting, that Gleyber Torres is a pretty good baseball player. Torres went to the Tigers this offseason on a 1-year, $15 million contract. He didn't get the long-term deal he wanted, signed a 1-year deal with Detroit, knowing he's going to play every day. He hasn't played every day because of injury, but in his 5 games, he's hit first or second every time. So he's going to hit first or second. That's really good news for his outlook, obviously. In this 5 games, he has 4 runs, 4 RBIs, already stolen a base, already hit a home run. Gleyber could be on the waiver wire. He's obviously pushing for a contract. I think if we look at last season, there were some pluses, more minuses than pluses. But if you look at the last 3 years, like, it's pretty clear who Gleyber Torres is. And let's also not overlook the fact he's only 28. So the thought that is, thought he's going down the Javi Baez path of irrelevance, completely overblown. So really strong start for Gleyber Torres, and most exciting for Torres is the fact that he's hitting 1 or 2 in the lineup for the Tigers. Brandon Donovan, who's on multiple teams I have, hopefully on multiple teams you have, second base and outfield eligible. He's settled in as the cleanup hitter of the Cardinals, and he's been really good to start the season. 4 for 4 yesterday with an RBI. And Donovan is somebody that, I mean, maybe I slightly overdrafted. Maybe I did, but the early returns say I didn't. That dual position eligibility is nice. He's already played second base 15 times. He's played shortstop 3 times. Played the outfield twice. So depending upon your league rules, if it's 5 games in your league for a new position, he's already played shortstop 3 times. Like maybe he even gets 5 games here in April at shortstop, and then we got a third position we could add to his outlook. The fact is that he's just a very good offensive player. Not an outstanding offensive player. Oh, by the way, I think I said cleanup. He's hitting third. He's not an outstanding offensive player, and he's never going to be a standout star in the fantasy space. You know, he's got 2 home runs right now, 1 steal. He's batting .390. He's got a .980 OPS. I would say if his season comes together as it could, especially since he's hitting third now for the Cardinals, we could be looking at a Brian Reynolds kind of season. We could be looking at a 275, 20, 80, 80 kind of season for Donovan. And if you're in an on-base percentage league, his career on-base percentage is .366. The number's over 400 right now. So in on-base, he's even a little bit better than Brian Reynolds. So this is a very intriguing player because of the dual position flexibility, because of his spot in the lineup, and because of his overall approach. And I'll say this too, through all of this, all the goodness we have seen, he's actually got the lowest walk rate he's had in 4 years, and that number probably goes up over the course of the season. Right now, it's below league average. I don't really anticipate it staying there. So everything we've seen thus far for him has been very, very positive. Brandon Donovan looking pretty damn good in the early going here for the Cardinals. Another guy that's looking pretty good in the early going, and this was a big concern, was Nolan Arenado. Would Nolan Arenado be able to return to prominence this season? Because Arenado is an aging player. He's not, was he 32, 4? What is 34? I'm going to say 34. He's 33 and 11 months. Oh, his birthday is actually tomorrow. So happy birthday a day early, Nolan Arenado. Send your cards to him, care of the Cardinals. He's going to be 34 years old tomorrow, and his back was an issue last year. And truthfully, you know, the numbers receded last year to a point where it was a little concerning because he basically was kind of a nobody late in the year. And, you know, first time he failed to hit 20 home runs in a full season since 2014, right? He had 16 home runs. And he loses Paul Goldschmidt, and they're doing a little bit of a youth movement here. And so what's this all going to look like? Well, the good news is the early returns are very positive for Arenado. Arenado, who is the cleanup hitter after misspeaking about Donovan, it had the advantage of having Donovan on base all the time. Again, .420 on base percentage for Donovan here in the early going. So there's been people on base to drive in. He's got 9 RBIs in 15 games as Arenado. He scored 11 runs in those 15 games. I think more impressive is the .935 OPS, which he will not hold on to. But it gives hope that we could be looking at our first 800 OPS season on him in 3 years. The walk rate right now is the best of his career. You know, this has something to do with the way he's being pitched to, because they're not always going to attack him with the way that the depth of the lineup it works for the Cardinals right now. His strikeout rate is 6%. Obviously, is going to go up, but we're talking about 2 walks for every strikeout right now. He's locked in, and he's locked in despite there being very moderate growth, if any, in the batted ball data. So at the end with Nolan Arenado, we need him to play 140 games, and I have a pretty good level of confidence he's going to do that. And we need him to maintain consistency. Is he going to hit 300 this year? He is not. Does it look like he's going to return to hitting 30 home runs this year? It does not. Might he end up being a very bland and blah third baseman at the end of the season? Maybe, right? He might end up with that 275, 25, 85 season. But again, that's a substantial step over last year. I think the cost for Arenado on draft day, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it's probably the lowest it has ever been since he broke out this year. So you did not invest highly in Arenado. He was a guy that was being drafted as a corner infielder or in the reserve rounds, right? He wasn't being drafted as a top 10 third baseman, of course. So I think these early returns are very positive. The question that needs to be answered is, again, how does his back hold up? He did play 152 games last year, so he struggled through it. Was incredibly unproductive given the fact he played 150 games. But if you look at this, the last time, I mean, since 2015, these are his games played. 157, 160, 159, 156, 155, 157, 148, 144, 152. So he's always on the field. He's a huge part of what St. Louis is doing. And I guess there's still a chance they could trade him at some point, because obviously that was a storyline that we followed all off season. He wanted to be traded. They were very interested, the Cardinals, in trading him, opening up playing time for youngsters, opening up some money to spend in other areas. They, I'm sure, would revisit that if Arenado wanted to. Even if they trade him, it might be closer to the trade deadline at the end of July. But that's in play here too, and you never know how that could go. But good start, and regardless, for Nolan Arenado. Pete Crow Armstrong is somebody that we talked about a lot in the preseason over at fantasyguru.com and here on the show. It's somebody whose ADP ended up, was it 130 at the NFBC, something like that. It was inside the top 150 overall. And there was the discussion about Pete Crow Armstrong the following. He's going to steal bases, going to play great defense. The bat should be good enough, right? Crow Armstrong is somebody that we're looking 15 to 20 home runs, and we're hoping for 30 steals. The old Mike Cameron kind of hitter. He's hitting 230, but he's going 20-30. Early returns have him playing 19 games with 14 runs scored, which is tremendous. And that's really good for Pete Crow Armstrong, especially given the fact that he's hitting 7th. Okay, why is he hitting 7th despite his speed? Because he doesn't get on base. Despite this hot start, his .313 on base percentage is still completely, it's like dead on league average. And this is with a good start for him, right? So that's the real issue with getting super excited about him, Pete Crow Armstrong. It's that he's likely to continue to hit in the bottom third of the order. Now, the positive for that, as we talk about frequently, especially with the young player, is that there is, in theory, less pressure on him down the order. He's not being looked at to drive in runs. He should be more free on the base paths. You don't want to steal a base or get thrown out stealing a base with Suzuki and Tucker coming up. That's not a good place to be. So now he's down the order so he can run. He's 7 for 8 in stealing bases this year, which is a tremendous start. He's actually got 36 steals and only been caught 6 times in his big league career. That's really impressive work. It's a very strong steal percentage for PCA. And if you look at him, he's played 155 games. Guess what? 12 home runs, 36 steals. That's right on that 15-30 we were talking about. The real issue for PCA is, where does that batting average ultimately end up? If it's 257, I think we got to be feeling really good about that. It's more likely to be 247, might more likely to be 237. So I don't think he maintains what he's doing now, but this is a tremendous start. There's really no negatives to the start here for PCA. I think something we could, hit the ball on the ground a little bit more, take advantage of your speed a little bit more. I don't know if that's really in play. You should not have a 20% launch angle. It's too high for a guy with his skill set, which also will damage his ability to be a 250 plus hitter. Might give him a better chance, though, obviously, at 15 to 20 home runs. End of the day, he's living up to expectations. And if he continues to do this, let's also pull back and say there's 6 months of the season. We're halfway through the first month of the year. He's got 7 steals. Let's just say he steals 8 bases this year or this month. If he does that pace all season, he's almost at 50 steals. So keep that in mind, too. Great start for PCA. Brenton Doyle, this one's a little bit concerning. Brenton Doyle, who obviously busted loose last season, was a great power speed combination player, largely on the back of Colorado, but still got there. He's got a quad issue that we're all aware of. Now, the problem with the quad issue is that he's missed, 4 games, I think it was? 3 or 4 games he sat out. Did some sprints on Monday. Didn't respond the way they hoped. So he basically said when talking to the media yesterday that today is the day. Like they'll make the decision on the injured list today. And given that he ran sprints yesterday and didn't feel good, my lean is that we're probably looking at him going to the injured list. Now, the fact that they've let this play out, the fact that there wasn't an IL stint when the injury happened, all this is positive in the sense that it's not likely to be a long-term thing. But clearly, it's not responded as they had hoped. They did sign Mickey Moniak, so I would assume Mickey Moniak would now probably play on a daily basis against right-handed pitching. The outfield would have Moniak and Zach Veen out there, and then it's a discussion of what do we do? Do we go with Sean Bouchard in the outfield? Do we put Nick Martini in the outfield? How do we cover for Brenton Doyle? Looking at the minor leagues, let me look at the minor league. I'm not really even sure. I should look at this before. Who's in the outfield? Jordan Beck. Duh. Jordan Beck is the guy they just demoted, who they started the season with. Beck is obviously in play to be recalled. Beck is not, former first-round pick, by the way. Beck is now just about 24 years old. Beck has played 66 games and 64 games at the big league level and has a 510 OPS. In theory, Beck could be similar, in theory, could be similar to what we saw in Brenton Doyle last year. And that's the hope of the Rockies, obviously, that he develops the ability to go 2020 at the big league level. Last season, he was stupendous in the minor leagues. I mean, last year in 42 games in the minors, Jordan Beck hit 316. Like, he had 38 runs, scored 35 RBIs. Like, he was really good. Got called to the big leagues and was absolutely terrible. It's a big jump between minor leagues and the big leagues. So Jordan Beck could be promoted. I guess the short-term winner is Mickey Moniak. If we lose Doyle, Moniak is not somebody to be interested in the mixed league. And Jordan Beck, we'll have to see with him. But again, struggles there have been what we've seen to date. Marcell Ozuna has been placed. Well, he hasn't been placed on the injury list, but it seems like that's potentially going to happen. An MRI that showed hip inflammation on Monday. Good news that it didn't show tears or significant injuries. At this point, he's not expected to play this entire series against the Blue Jays. So the hope is later in the week he returns. That's where we're sitting right now. Obviously, he's been getting on base at like a 500 clip. Would be a significant loss to the Braves if indeed Ozuna is to miss more than just a couple of days. Kris Bryant, speaking of the Rockies, Kris Bryant was placed on the 10-day injured list, the lumbar degenerative disc issue. They signed him to a massive contract, $182 million. I said at the time, Kyle Lofrank and I said at the time, stupid signing for the Rockies. It's been a stupid signing for the Rockies. At this point in time, the Rockies think they can manage this back issue, but it's a degenerative situation. So this is something that's going to plague him, it sounds like, for the rest of his career. Bryant could, in theory, be on the lineup on a daily basis. At this point, if he played 2/3 of the games the rest of the way, the Rockies might have to be happy with that. And if he did that, I don't think any of us are going to be happy with that. So at this point in time, Kris Bryant, and he'll only play best case scenario. And then finally, before we talk some football with Armando Marsal, Shane Baz, career high 11 strikeouts last night. Allowed 1 run over 6 innings against the Red Sox. For those of you that don't subscribe to fantasyguru.com, or for those of you that have forgotten, Shane Baz is one of the 3 finalists for Breakout Pitcher of the Year this year. He wasn't the chosen guy, but he was one of the 3 finalists. The chosen guy was Nick Lodolo. But Shane Baz has looked terrific here in the early going, and it dominated last night against the Red Sox. Fastball was buzzing at 97. The velocity hit 99 on the gun at one point. And remember, we talked about this in the preseason with Baz. He, at one point in time, was a top 5 pitching prospect in baseball. Had an injury to his elbow, had the surgery on the elbow. Since he's come back, the stuff hasn't quite gone there. Like, it was a 10 on a 1 to 10 scale. Now it's like 8.5 zone. Yesterday, it looked really damn good, and the velocity was there too. So we'll continue to monitor this. He's got basically a 6-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Stay healthy, kid. Right now, the start has been tremendous for Shane Baz of the Rays. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. When you do so, you can sign up for all the products we have to offer. That includes the baseball products, seasonal, DFS, and wagering, all available right now. It also includes the ability to sign up for our football package. If you want to sign up for the full season football package, you can do that right now. Subscribe tab in the top right corner. If you want to sign up for franchise mode, which gets you all the off-season coverage, including the player profiles leading up to the draft, you can sign up for that as well. You can always send a note as well to support@fantasyguru.com. I bring that up because we're bringing in our man, Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. He joins us every Tuesdays to talk some football, so let's bring him right in. Oh, Armando is pimping the Fantasy Guru shirt. Look at that guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know where my Fantasy Guru shirt is. You got me beat, Armando. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, doing okay. Busy week. We got the Elite Sports Game Time show was earlier, so I'm running from there to there. It'll be nicer when things get spaced out a little bit, but still wanted to talk with you about everything that's going on here. And thank you for joining us today to talk some football. How are things with you?
Things are good. Busy as usual. A lot of behind the scenes stuff, and we got rookie profiles working on that. Luckily now NBA transitions to the playoffs, so it's a little bit slower in the NBA. So a lot more attention in the NFL world. So it's never ending, right? But like always got my hands on something, right?
Absolutely. We're always involved at fantasyguru.com here on the show. And people often say, "Oh, you taking the day off," and I'm like, "Sports don't stop."
What
we work from home, but on the holidays there's always sports. On the days off there's always I'm not complaining. It's our life, and I'm fine with it.
Hey, nothing like Thanksgiving morning answering question in Discord, right?
Smelling
the food, getting ready for football.
Right?
It's fun.
Or
Good
Christmas
times.
Day now that the NFL plays on Christmas.
Yeah, good times.
Thank you, NFL. Good time. Let's talk some quarterbacks today. We got the draft coming up here. I thought it'd be just nice to take an overarching view of the quarterback position. Where are we at with Brock Purdy? Now, we've heard a lot of rumors that he's going to get a contract extension. It's coming at some point. They're going to make him highly paid. The Niners obviously have a bunch of questions on offense. They have a bunch of questions on defense. Transition team. I mean, the Niners, 500 might be a good goal this year. Where are we at with Brock Purdy heading into 2025?
So it's very difficult for me to view Brock Purdy as anything more than a QB2 in fantasy, given, he obviously lost Deebo Samuel. There's concern with McCaffrey, durability and whatnot. There's, concerns about Brandon Ayuk. Is he going to be ready? Is he not going to be ready? So you're talking about, multiple weapons here that he was counting on last season, where he finished outside of the top 12, right, in fantasy scoring, that are no longer there, or that are dealing with some sort of injury, and there's some uncertainty. So for me, I like Brock Purdy. I think he's, very good for the Kyle Shanahan system. He's executed it very well, very efficient in it. But I also think he's needed the help, and he's had the help. And this year we're going to see what he's capable of doing without some of that help. So for me, I'm a little bit, I guess, reserved when it comes to Brock Purdy. I'm not going to go overboard. He was someone I was more bullish on last season than I am this year. But in a 2-quarterback or a super flex league as your QB2, I'm okay with it because I do believe in the Shanahan system. And we talk a lot about coaching and how important that is. And Shanahan just a phenomenal job with game planning and whatnot. And I think he's going to put Brock Purdy in a good position. But again, it's just a matter of the weapons here for me. It's a concern.
Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields last year, when he was the starting quarterback for the Steelers, I think he was like QB6, something like that. He was top 10 QB, if I'm not mistaken, when he was starting. Obviously, with the Jets now, it feels like you say Brock Purdy to Justin Fields. The floor on Purdy seems rock solid, right? The floor on Fields seems uneven, but is Justin Fields easily the choice right now for you over Brock Purdy if you had to make it, if you're doing a draft tonight for 2025?
Yes, I'm taking Fields over Purdy in this right now. As things stand right now, yes, I am doing it. You get the rushing upside with Fields that you really don't get with Purdy. When you look at, the supporting cast, I mean, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Breece Hall. To me, those are two very, very good players, superstars, you could say, right, to a certain extent at their positions. So, yeah, I'm taking Fields here. Fields is someone I like a lot. I think so long as he, we have to see what the Jets do in the draft, but so long as he's their starter, so long as they don't make any other drastic moves where they add a quarterback here, like you never know with the Jets. I think Fields is going to be that sneaky value guy that you get, in your mid rounds when you miss on that top tier quarterback that can give you that top 10, top 8 production on a per game basis when he's on the field.
Marsal of fantasyguru.com joins us every Tuesday here on the show. He normally joins Justin Fensman on Wednesday. He's not going to be on this week on Wednesday because Justin's traveling. How dare he? So Armando's only.
We're both traveling, so he's on Friday, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be celebrating my son's birthday that day in Disney. So
yeah, I'm the only. Maybe it should be said this way: I'm the only sap that's not traveling. How about that? That's probably a better way to say it. What about the situation with CJ Stroud? I mean, obviously Stephon Diggs is out. They brought in Christian Kirk. The skill players otherwise are basically the same group as last year. The big change from year 1 to year 2 was the level of performance of Stroud. Bobby Sloak is gone. Now they brought in a new Nick Calley to be the new OC. Where are we at? Are we looking at 2023 CJ Stroud? Are we looking at 2024 CJ Stroud? What are your expectations right now, Armando?
I think somewhere in the middle, right? I think some regression was expected after his phenomenal rookie campaign. I don't think there's much surprises. So obviously you want to see a bounce back season. I do think he bounces back this year. My biggest concern is really the offensive line. Like that is my concern when it comes to Stroud. They need to protect him. I'm assuming that, and I'm expecting I'm expecting them to address, that line in this draft, and I'm expecting them to add some pieces there. But for me, that's really where I'm at with CJ Stroud. I think they need to protect them. Like you mentioned, Diggs is gone, but they added Kirk. So I think they got their slot guy. We have to see, if Dell's able to come back early in the season or not. We don't know what his timeline is here. You still got a good running game there, but it's all about protection when it comes to CJ Stroud. Right now, he's a fringe fringe QB1 for me. Like kind of that 12, between that 11 and 13 mix, I guess, depending on where you're drafting and your roster or whatnot. But I think he has that upside to be a top 10 quarterback, but I'm viewing him as that low end QB1, high end QB2. That's kind of the territory I have him in right now.
Marsal of FG. Bryce Young drafted. Still. But I'll say this. Everyone, I think, likes Dave Canales and what they're doing. If you look at the performance of Bryce Young after the bye week last year, I don't know how many people noticed this because it was late in the year. Whatever. Bryce Young had 16 touchdowns the last 7 games. Now, 5 of those were rushing, including 2 in the final week of the season. But talk about a guy who for a year and a half did jack nothing to, hey, wait a second. That's QB10 kind of production. Did you see enough later in the year that you're excited at all about Bryce Young, or is he still well down in the QB2 ranks for you, Armando?
Yeah, he's still way down for me. He's actually QB3 territory for me still. Look, I get it. So he had 5 top 13 finishes. I think it's in the last, I want to say 8 games of the season since week 12. So around 8 games, including a top 2 and a top 1. One was the last week of the season, week 18. But look, I was not a believer in Bryce Young when he was coming out of college. Mm-hmm. I still haven't seen enough for me to have a change of opinion there. Yeah, he did show glimpse last year, but still, I want to see more before I buy into it. I'm out on Bryce Young. Again, QB3 in stacks and best ball, sure. But outside of that, not someone I'm trying to invest in this season.
Armando, what about the situation with Derek Carr? Now, I don't know. I'm doing baseball, DFS, gambling, seasonal. I'm doing all these shows every day. Maybe I missed it, but I've seen the reports on Derek Carr, the shoulder and the concerns. Has it been reported what actually happened? Because as far as the reports I've seen, no one has said he got in a car accident or this sack did it. Like, I don't know what really happened with his shoulder. It sounded like they were intending to potentially move him this offseason, right? Not moving a guy if he's hurt. Do we know what the hell happened with Derek Carr? Bottom line, though, at the end, it sounds like he may not even be available in 2025. So what the hell are the Saints going to do?
It apparently is from like 2023, like the AC joint he was dealing with or whatnot. I think it's, if I read correctly, like a car accident or something. I'm not sure.
2023, so
yeah, it stems back from then.
Okay.
So this is an ongoing problem. Look, it's kind of like getting towards the end of his career or whatnot. For me, like when you look at Derek Carr, you look at what's going on right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. It's a situation I'm trying to avoid. It really is. Like, you want to like it. You want to buy into the Saints often to have several pieces there that are intriguing. But Derek Carr, for me, like, it's a situation worth monitoring, I guess, because it is important who's going to be there under center for New Orleans. But this is not an ideal situation right now as things stand.
I mean, Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler, like.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad behind Derek Carr. It's really bad.
I mean, I guess there's been some talk that they would draft a guy. Maybe now this changes their draft plan. I don't know. We all know Derek Carr, even if he's healthy, was not in their long-term plans. But yeah, the Saints have been flirting with the salary cap and trying to run back Kamara and Carr and all these. They're in bad shape. This could go. This team could win 4 games, right? It could go horribly wrong for the Saints in 2025. Yeah. One guy that this is interesting to me, and there's been all this back and forth about Shedeur Sanders. And basically, I'm going to summarize everything I have seen. Everything I have seen says Shedeur Sanders is fine. The interest in him is because of his lineage and his connection to his dad, and that most people don't think he's really anything special at quarterback. That's kind of the general perception. We even got a recent report from Albert Breer that said, no one even is convinced this guy should be a first-round draft pick. Now, remember, Sanders, at one point in this draft process, a lot of people were saying he's going to go 2 or 3. Now he may not even go in the first round. Who is Shedeur Sanders to you, and what do you make about his dad and Dion and all the stuff surrounding him? Because I guess a lot of people are starting to get a little bit nervous about all that.
Maybe like a Teddy Bridgewater, like it kind of comes to mind.
Okay.
This is not a quarterback class that I'm all that interested in. I think in in a different class, he won't come out of the first round. Given today's NFL, given the fact that this class is not that great, I think there's a chance when you look at some of these teams up in the draft, right? You got the Browns, the Giants are hosting him for another private workout, or they hosted him for another private workout. We talked about the Jets. Yes, they have Fields. I believe in Fields, but are they completely sold that Fields is their long-term answer? We don't know that. That's a team that could be in the market. We got Tennessee could be in the market. Like, there are a lot of teams in the market for quarterbacks, and given the fact that this is not a super deep and impressive, in my opinion, draft class at the position, there's a chance he goes in the first round. Would I want to invest in Sanders in the first round myself as if I was a GM? I'm not a GM, guys, but if I was a GM, probably not. I just don't know if that ceiling and the reward is worth the kind of risk you're taking here.
Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. You mentioned earlier the player profile series. It is part of the football package at FantasyGuru.com. It's also part of the franchise mode. If you want to just get the offseason coverage over at FG, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Always can send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com if you have any questions. Support at FantasyGuru.com. You're part of the group of fellas that are writing those player profiles. And you recently did a profile on Jaxon Dart. Now, in the case of Shedeur Sanders, his arrow is pointing down. In the case of Jaxon Dart, the arrow is pointing up. You did the breakdown of Dart. Who is he? How excited are you about him in 2025 and moving forward?
I am very interested in him. I think he's a very dynamic quarterback. I think he brings a lot to the table. I watched film and I did, like you mentioned, I did his player profile. And he really reminds me a lot of Bo Nix, someone that could move around the pocket, someone that can make plays. Someone that, he's not a run-first quarterback that can run. I think in the right situation, he can flourish. I think ideally, he lands in a spot where he can, maybe take the year and kind of learn the system, learn the ropes before being thrown out there. I do think he'll benefit from that. I don't think he's going to, like Bo Nix, like I thought the same thing. He was ready in the NFL, right? So you never know, right? When you're placed in the right situation, when you're coached up good, you might come out and perform. I do think he needs coaching, though. I do think Dart needs coaching. I don't think that he's going to step right in and, set the world on fire. I don't think he has those tools, but I do think he has the tools to work with at the next level for me. And everything, I wrote this in the profile, like the things that he's lacking are coachable, right? Like some players are lacking something you can't coach, whether it's size, like Bryce Young. You can't coach size, unfortunately. But with Dart, there are things that you can coach. Most of those deficiencies are things that you can coach. And I think with the right coaching, right situation, right system, I do think that Dart could be an every week starter in the NFL. And that can turn into a franchise quarterback, right? And I do think he has that potential. So I do like Dart a lot. He's the one quarterback in this draft class that I do like. And if you're taking the chance, he's probably the one I'm taking the chance on.
Armando, since you are part of that player profile series, do you know who you're writing about next? Who's coming
Sanders up? And Ward. Sanders and Ward are the two guys next up. I wasn't able to do one. The ones I was working on, I wasn't able to finish it. Just a couple of things behind the scene in NBA sidetracked me. But I am working on Sanders right now, and Ward is right after. So those should be up very soon on the site.
Are you involved with the basketball in the postseason, by the way, or is that your time kind of done since it's headed to that second season for the NBA?
I will be involved. I'll be in Discord. There won't be any more sheet sheets in the NBA, but we do have a breakdown for every slate. That even the 2-game slates. Normally, we only do 4-game slates or more during the regular season. But given it's a postseason, we will have a breakdown, and we'll all be in there in Discord. So I'll definitely be in there in Discord answering questions for throughout the NBA postseason.
As you can see on the screen, sign up for the MVP plan. If you want the basketball coverage, you can still get in now. We can help you out there. Send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com. Lots of quarterback questions, but I want to ask you one running back question before we shut the show down today, Armando, and it has to do with Isiah Pacheco. Heading into last season, a lot of excitement. He obviously hurt his leg. Kareem Hunt took over while he was hurt. When Pacheco came back, Pacheco never grabbed the backfield again. It was always that shared mix, or if not, just Hunt leading the way. There are reports the Chiefs are interested in grabbing a running back in the draft. Who is Isiah Pacheco? Is the best in his rearview mirror already? Is that just all we're going to get from Isiah Pacheco?
I don't want to necessarily say that the best is behind him, but I do think that it's an uphill battle for him right now, right? Like you mentioned, when he returned from injury last year, they did not give him the rock like we saw before the injury. It was more of a committee. we're seeing the reports surfacing regarding they want a more dynamic running back, a complement back to Pacheco, which kind of screams, running back by committee like that. That's what it's kind of screaming here. So right now I'm viewing Pacheco more as an RB3/flex option for me. I really want to kind of see what happens in the draft. Do they really address the running back position? Are they investing in early, a second round pick on the running back? That's a high draft pick for a running back. So it really depends on when they take their back, what running back they take, how, different and similar he is to Pacheco. And kind of, training camp reports. I like to really, with these kind of players, you never know if the lack of opportunities was because they were still not 100% from the injury and they were kind of playing through injuries, or the fact that, he just is not that same guy he was before the injury, and the team knows that. So I want to see training camp reports. I'm going to keep a close eye on all of that stuff when it comes to Pacheco, because I think he's someone that could go two ways, right? You could be investing in him right now as an RB3 and capitalize on that during, the NFL season, or you could be just investing in exactly what he is, an RB3. And it's just time will tell, but I will be keeping a close eye. As things stand today, I view him as an RB3/flex option when it comes to season-long drafts.
Armando and Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Just a quick comments before we shut it down. Angelo started Baz and Clay Holmes yesterday. That did turn out well, Angelo. Yes. Good work. Very well. And then Kristian, Armando knows. He's in Florida. He knows about Shane Boss. And then Chris D says, do we hold Tanner Houck on the bench now, or do I put him out there against the White Sox? Houck was obliterated last night. He's been very poor this season to date. I would, despite the matchup, leave him on the bench. Remember, as you saw yesterday, Chris, with Houck, the worst thing that can happen in fantasy baseball, the worst other than an injury, is for a pitcher to get blasted. Right now, Houck is he's off. He's uneven. He's not missing bats. I would bench him even in that matchup with the White Sox. Armando, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. We'll have to get and cut the show short. I got to run over to SiriusXM for the next couple of hours for a game time show. We'll visit with Armando back here on this show next Tuesday. Armando, it's a Tuesday, so are you doing the live stream over at FG today?
Yep, I'll be on with the guys. I'll be on with Russell and Tyler. We'll be talking some football. I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking rookies and we've been doing a lot of dynasty talk and answering some questions there. So you can check that out. If you have any dynasty questions, Discord, ask them there. We've been going over some of those on the show, kind of giving the thought process of these, answers and things like that we're giving in dynasty. So check that out tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern, live stream over at fantasyguru.com. Click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page at fantasyguru.com to find this show catalog and Armando's podcast as well. Mine or Marsal, you can find them both there. Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. Armando, thanks for your time today. We appreciate it. Enjoy your day off tomorrow. Enjoy your trip to Disneyland later this week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yep. Thank you so much, Ray. Have a great one.
You got it. He's Armando Marsal. I'm Ray Flowers. We'll be back tomorrow here on a Wednesday. I'm with you Wednesday. I'm with you Thursday this week. Justin will be on Friday. So the show continues to roll on at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. For Armando, I'm Ray. Head over to SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio right now for 4 hours in a row of SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio goodness with Elite Sports. Justin and I from 1 to 3, and then Jeff Manns at 3 o'clock. For Armando, I'm Ray. It's been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.